Greetings. So, using some drawing gum to work on this spaceship, doing some fancy windows, and certainly not the windows of the software kind. So, using the liquid mask and this heavy nib, I traced these lines roughly. They're not going to be precise or exact. I prefer to be a little bit organic when it comes to this sort of designing. I appreciate those individuals out there who labor over the issue of perfect proportions and perspective. It's just not my thing. I used to be really into that. And I appreciate those who are willing to go that far. I'm just not. I have grown attached to a slightly more organic look. And I debated a little bit in regard to what other areas that I'm going to put these lights in. And I think I'm just going to put them here. The design of the ship, I kind of pulled out of a hat. I mean, at this point, there are millions and millions and millions and millions of spaceship designs out there. Some that make sense, some that don't, some that are, I don't know. You could just make up a design that's basically a floating rock and make it convincing. Or something as vastly complicated as the Nostromo from the movie Alien, or as, I don't know, as overly stylized as the Starship Enterprise. Whether or not you're talking the Starship Enterprise, that's the floating hotel in space, which I've never been a really big fan of, or the original series. And the other aspect with this specifically is contrast. So I've roughly estimated where the shadow's going to be. From the light source. This ink is really old. Oh, by the way, pardon the nasty fingernails. I've been drawing all day. The tip of my thumb is almost numb from holding the brush. So the funny thing about India ink is that the binder that it's using, whether it's shellac or it's animal hide glue, the binder eventually grows old. And with that age, flow is corrupted and the ink will get chunky and it will get heavy. And at a certain point, you can thin it out as much as you want with distilled water, and that's what you want to, if you thin out your inks, that's what you should use, any of your water-based ink, with distilled water. But at a certain point, the ink is just going to be trash. And so it's best to use that kind of trash ink with this heavier work. When you get to a point, then you can dispose of the ink, and then you clean up the bottle and use it for new ink. There we go. And something like this is kind of unusual for me to use strict black. I always get into like cross-hatching and other techniques. Solid black is usually not my thing. For me, drawing is always about texture. You have light and shadow, but you also have to deal with textures. And drawing has an interesting opportunity to create textures. And a lot of times the cross-hatching that you see isn't necessarily about creating light and shadow, it's creating textures, patterns. And this might work. I might just ditch that line there. This might turn out to be crap anyway. And then plan B would be to draw some things in here and then use a toothbrush and masking fluid and just cover the thing with little flakes and make the spaceship the stars and just cover up the mistake. We'll see what happens.